This morning we are talking all about tourist attractions. When was the last time you went out for a day out here in the UK? Are tourist attractions in the UK a rip-off? It appears that apparently because we pay 3 times as much VAT on breaks and visits here compared to a French or German one, and twice as much as one in Italy and Spain, we're missing out. We're getting stung again. Do I sound a bit fed up? Well, come on, fair's fair, because according to the campaign group Cut Tourism VAT, we're not actually taking advantage of EU rules. The rules exist, which allow governments to introduce a reduced rate of VAT on tourism. So why isn't our government making the most of that? They're doing it abroad. If we go abroad, go to Germany, go to France, you want to head up the Eiffel Tower or do something there, it's reasonably priced. But, here... Don't start me off. So we need to talk about this morning. We'd love to hear your thoughts in terms of this. 0345 300 8181. Have you just been out and about with the kids, grandkids, or just you and your other half, or maybe just little you, toddling about, going to see some nice places, and actually you've come to a point where this is getting too expensive now? We're absolutely skint as a result of it. I know a man who can help us out and tell us more about why all this is happening. Andrew Teacher is a spokesperson for the Cut Tourism VAT campaign and joins me now. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Just explain a bit more what the campaign is all about.
Well, the campaign is backed by hundreds of companies right across the country. So they range from small B&Bs and hotels right through to the people that run the major attractions such as Alton Towers and Warwick Castle and places like that. And simply, they're calling for a better deal for British consumers who are getting overly taxed on their holidays. And what's ridiculous is that, the government is incentivising people to leave this country. Tourism is the only export we have which is subject to VAT. And as you said just in the intro there, 24 states right across the EU have already taken advantage of the discretionary powers they have to reduce VAT, and what we're simply requesting is the government takes a very sensible decision, and yes, their response has been, we can't afford to do it, or it would reduce the amount of tax we take. But logic tells you, and the research that we're delivering to number 10 also tells you this, that making this cut from 20% to 5% for tourist accommodation and attractions would create 120,000 jobs, would create £4 billion windfall for GDP, and it would ultimately allow many, many companies right across the country, big and small, to invest in their local and regional economies and drive footfall and incentivise people not just to stay here, but also to come here as well.
It's interesting that, isn't it? Because as a consumer, as someone who goes out on day trips, and many people I'm sure will back me up on this who are listening right now, we automatically point the finger at the place we go to and think, well, they're just overly expensive. But it sounds to me from what you've said that the attractions and hotels are on our side and they'd like to see it cheaper for consumers, right?
That's correct. And Merlin Entertainment, which is they're one of the bigger owners of things like Alton Towers and particularly prominent across the Midlands, they've made it quite clear that if the government does reduce VAT from 20% to 5%, they will pass that price change through. So this isn't about companies trying to simply trouser a bit more cash. It's about giving consumers a fairer deal and ultimately driving up footfall, making the whole sector a lot more attractive to people simply because there are many, many indirect benefits. You think of all of the things that you also spend money on. If you're going on a day trip, you'll buy petrol, you'll buy sweets, you'll buy meals out, all these other things that come with tourism. And whether that's, leisure tourism, whether it's business tourism, whether it's people going on conferences, think of the hundreds and thousands of people that stay in hotels or go to conference centres across the country. And these are all things which you look at Ireland and the sensible decisions they've made there when Ireland was looking to rebound after the crash. First thing they did was cut VAT on tourism. The second thing they did was cut corporation tax. And that is what has driven back that recovery. And it's just really, really short-sighted from George Osborne, the Chancellor, and David Gauke, who's the Pale Malmesdale Chief Secretary to the Treasury, who's somehow kept his job. And David Gauke's response has simply been, no, go away, we're not going to do this. And it's really disheartening that the government has not decided to take a long view here.
Why is that? Why won't our government do this? Because we're all kind of singing from the same proverbial hymn sheet here. The consumers want it to be cheaper. The businesses want it to be cheaper. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Because they don't understand their own tax system. And the initial response we had when a major tabloid newspaper, The Sun, came out and put this on their front page a few weeks back, the response that we got from the Treasury press office that day was, you'd need to go back and renegotiate with the EU. They didn't even understand their own tax system. That was the most hilarious thing. And their response since then has simply been, it will cost too much. And they quote this figure of 1.5 billion, the amount that they would lose in VAT receipts in year one. But obviously, common sense tells you that the receipts they would lose in year one would vastly be made up by the increased amount that they would get back in other things. Whether that's the increased footfall, whether that's the increased investment it would generate. So that obviously has receipts that are generated elsewhere, extra national insurance contributions from more employees, extra money spent all over the economy. And so this report that we're going to hand in to Number 10 today makes it very clear that there's a £4 billion windfall to the exchequer to be had, 120,000 jobs to be created. And the other key thing that is to be remembered politically is that tourism has generated 1/3 of the jobs created in the private sector since this coalition government came to power. And a disproportionately high number of those people employed are the young 16 to 24-year-olds that have struggled to find work. And according to recent government figures, youth unemployment still stands at 17.8%. And that's for people aged between 16 to 24. And those are the people that are massively employed by companies like Merlin, who say that 45% of their workforce is that in that age bracket. So this isn't no one's trying to allege that cutting tourism VAT is a silver bullet to every social ill that we have in this country, but it is a silver bullet to the tourism sector, to a sector which is a massive employer of young people, which is a huge generator of business right across the country. And I think it would send a very clear message to the British public that this isn't a government which is solely focused on London.
I think the best thing that we've got out of this is that A, something's being done, and B, that we're becoming more enlightened and discovering that there is an opportunity for this to change according to the EU rules, and our government can do something about it, and actually that there is this campaign to encourage them to do that. Andrew, thank you for can
we get all your listeners to write to their local MP and press them to do this? That's what we need. We need people to get up, write some letters, send some tweets, and put pressure on David Gall, put pressure on their local MPs, whatever party they're from, and really put pressure on, call them to action. That's what we need to happen.
Thanks very much indeed, Andrew. Good to speak to you. Andrew Teacher there, who's a spokesperson for the Cut Tourism VAT campaign.